Once again, you are welcome to Evangelist Imakalu TV, Treasury of Excellent Knowledge. As you know, I am your serviceable servant, Evangelist Imakalu. I want to talk on the topic, no discipline, no success. Yes, no discipline, no success. Let me read from the book of Genesis chapter 2, first of all. Genesis chapter 2 from verse 15 to verse 17. I'm reading from Amplified. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to tend and guard and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and blessing and calamity, you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Now I want to go to chapter 3. Chapter 3, I want to read from verse 4 to verse 7. But the serpent said to the woman, You shall not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil, and blessing and calamity. And when the woman saw that the fruit was good, suitable, pleasant for food, and that it was delightful to look at, and a tree to be desired in order to make one wise, she took of its fruits and ate. And she gave some also to her husband, and he ate. Verse 7. Then the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves apron-like girdles. No discipline, no success. No discipline, no success. God had created everything and had given to the man. This man here is Adam, the first human being that was directly created. All of us are reproduced. We are product of procreation. Only Adam was created. Then Eve secondarily. Then Eve is his wife. God has given Adam the commandments. God has given him the Garden of Eden to take care of. God had made Adam the steward of his estates. And God created Adam without Adam contributing to that creation. Without Adam contributing to the Garden of Eden, everything God had created was just at his own cost, at his own expense. Then he gave it over to Adam to take care of, not to own, to take care of, and to benefit from. He gave him a commandment of discipline. All of God's commandment is about discipline. God said to him, the rest of the fruit, the rest of the food, everything, just enjoy yourself, take care of this garden. Let us relate together. I have created you, and the purpose I have created you is for you to live in loyalty to me while I will continue to bless you. And there is a permanent success if you continue to obey me. This is what God is explaining through his commandments. So the eating of the fruit is not the real issue as many people interpret it. It is fornication, it is apple, it is this, it is that. It is about discipline or indiscipline. Discipline for success, indiscipline for failure. And every sin has consequences. This is what God is explaining. But righteousness has no consequence. God has given him this commandment, then God created Eve thereafter. It happened that the serpent, Satan, in the guise of a serpent, with the spirit of serpent, intruded into the Garden of Eden, then approached Eve, spoke to Eve, countering what God has said, twisting the narrative, then psychologically blindfolding Eve, and Eve fell for him. Eve took of the fruit and ate. Eve also plucked some of the fruit God had prohibited them to eat, and gave to Adam. Adam did not put any resistance. Adam did not caution Eve. Adam also fell with Eve as a result of his nepotism, relational sentiment, because he's my wife. Because he's my wife. So your wife now becomes superior to God. That is the attitude of many of us. He said, when they saw the attraction, the qualities of that prohibited fruit, they crossed their boundary. They disrespected God. They rebelled against God. They could not discipline themselves enough as God had commanded them to do, and God had given them the grace to live within their means, or even below their means. Don't covet. Don't take whatever God has not given to you. Do not put your eyes and your desire in properties belonging to others, belonging to God. Be contented. This is what God is explaining. The law of God is the law of discipline in every ramification. And God is telling you the way He told Adam and Eve. God is telling me that no discipline, no success. No discipline, no success. If we want to succeed in life, we must apply the principle of discipline. But I will use the word constructive discipline. It is not being disciplined to the wrong system. It is not being disciplined to misleading principle. It is not being disciplined because logically Adam and Eve were disciplined, but to the serpent. That is a destructive discipline. But the constructive discipline is the discipline that keeps us permanent in the lens of success. And the discipline grants ease of success. Discipline sustains success. Adam and Eve had ease of success. They did never struggle so well before they had access to that Garden of Eden. That is ease of success. God had paid the price for them. God had labored for them. So they did no longer need to labor. That is, all they needed was to comply, to conform to that God's instruction permanently, and they will continue to enjoy all of the dividends, all of the blessings God had provided for them. How have you fall out? How have you fall out from the lens of success and blessings which God had provided for you originally? Some people logically and philosophically claim that the sins of Adam and of Eve has nothing to do with the human generation of every time. But that is not true. It is a lie. That does not mean that God judges us with that particular sin Adam and Eve has committed. But what the Bible and what I, Evangelist Imakalo, is telling you, telling myself and telling the rest of us, is that as far as we continue to sin, just like Adam and Eve, we will also have consequences of the sins we commit. Because sins exist in the world. Then we have the grace to say no to sin. Then we have the freedom of choice and of decision to say yes to sin, to say yes to rebellion, to say yes to indiscipline, to say yes to corruption. But they have their consequences. The blessings of God make it rich, and it added no sorrow. That is the perfect will of God for us. But the majority of us are living in permissive will, the way we choose to live, or the way others lead us to live, different from the way God had orchestrated for us to live and be successful in life. So Jesus Christ came to set the example as the only one who lived on this earth without committing a single sin. That is the perfect will of God in demonstration and in manifestation. Jesus Christ is the perfect example. Adam fell, but Jesus never fell. Jesus lived in the world, was tempted in every area, but he was able to apply the grace of the overcoming grace in every area, in every attempt, in every venture. That is the reason. So God is telling us now we are still alive to retrace our step. Wherever we have been living the indisciplined life that have been causing us setback, that have been causing us failure in every way, we are to retrace our step. It is not too late. God can restore us, even though we will bear the natural consequences, but our soul should be saved. Then our future should be secure right from now. If not, we can build the future for our children. We can build the future for our children when we reconnect ourselves in the lens of godly discipline. Then also it will channel our mental line to educating others, to upbringing our children, to breeding them in the godly disciplinary way, and they will become modest. Remember, the children are the leaders of tomorrow. How are we training them? How are we influencing them? Are we influencing them with corruption, or are we influencing them with righteousness? So we are to be building our future by living the life of indiscipline that will take us into the brighter future. We are to build the future. Nobody build the future for us. We build the future for ourselves, either connecting with God or connecting with Satan. But my advice is that we connect with God. And we are also building our future inside of our children, not to depend on our children for as our retirement plan, but to build them as our successors, those who will be competent to take over from wherever we will stop. King Solomon cried. He said, hey, his greatest fear is that when he will die, he cannot tell who will take over from him, whether the person will be a wise person or the person will be a foolish person who will come and misuse all of the wealth, all of the opportunities he had acquired. Then if the person should be a wise person, the person will manage them very, very well. How are we building successorship? Successorship, if it's either we build corrupt successors or we build modest successors. So no discipline, no success. Quote me anywhere, any day. So this is the wisdom of God coming to you through me, your serviceable servant, Evangelist Inyima Kalu. So remember, these are the reasons I do write my books. This is living a contented life. Eve and Adam failed to live a contented life. That is the reason they were unable to continue disciplining themselves. And you see them paying the price. Their eyes became open. They could realize that they were deluded. In the end, they were evacuated from that Garden of Eden. This is their problem. This is their problem. Lost. They have lost of appetite, loss of consumption, lost that led them to covet what God had not given to them, lost and their problems. Adam's and our typical example. Jesus Christ, as a contented person, lived and was successful. He was contented. That is the reason he never crossed his boundary. But lust made Adam and Eve to cross their own boundary. So these are the reasons I do what I do. For us to be learning deeply and to be preparing ourselves, to be developing ourselves, developing others. This is the master of them all of my books. Understanding and executing righteousness. They contain these two part by part, and they contain 38 others. It is a 40 chapter book. So with others, some people have lost with their appetite. So some people have lost with their sexual appetite. Some people have lost with drinking appetite. Some people have their own lust with smoking appetite. Some people have their own lust with power. Some people, power, political power, the power of rulership, even occultic power. Some people have their own lust by materialism, acquisition. So there are different ways people have their own lust, and the lust is the reason people become jealous and envious against one another. So it is important that we learn to stay permanently on the lens of discipline as God has orchestrated it for us, and for doing so we will never regret. We will only continue to celebrate in life. May God bless you. Until I come your way once again, I want to go to the church service of today. I remain your serviceable servant, Evangelist Imakalo.